Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org. Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. The Safeway app features shopping for curbside pickup and home delivery, plus meal planning, pharmacy, and more. Learn more at Safeway.com.
Hey there, it's Tuesday, but my mind is on restaurant week. I'm taking recommendations. Send me a DM at perez.arlo on Instagram with your favorite places. Bonus points if it has arrachera. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. Colorado prohibits therapists from treating being gay or transgender as a mental illness. Now, that could change.
We should speak out against any cruel and concerted efforts to undermine protections.
Then, body cameras are supposed to make police accountable, but that depends on what they release.
It's clear that the Douglas County Sheriff's Office is trying to frame a narrative.
Plus, layoffs in Colorado Springs tell a bigger story.
It's a national security issue, and it's a key part of making the U.S. a leader in the technology economy.
And a music lift for your Tuesday. It's March 11th. Here's the news in Colorado today. The U.S. Supreme Court will hear challenges to Colorado's ban on conversion therapy. Scotus said yesterday it'll hear arguments this fall. This case challenges the Colorado law passed in 2019, a law prohibiting the practice that tries to change a person's sexual orientation. CPR's Haley May is covering this. A warning, this story mentions suicide. Haley, why is the Supreme Court taking up this issue?
Yeah, Arlo, the issue is whether the law violates the free speech of therapists who want to practice conversion therapy. Now, a conservative law firm called the Alliance Defending Freedom filed this lawsuit on behalf of a counselor in Colorado Springs. Her name's Kaylee Childs, and it claims that the state's law censors her free speech by preventing her from counseling children who she believes wish to affirm their biological gender identity and sexual orientation. But they couldn't tell us how many of these clients she's actually come across.
Now, I want to take a moment to point out that many groups, including the American Psychological Association and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, denounce conversion therapy. That's mainly because, at its core, conversion therapy treats being gay or transgender as a mental illness, which, of course, it's not.
Yes, and these scientific perspectives are among the reasons the bill passed in the first place, to ban the practice here in Colorado.
We know that children have died from this type of treatment, and we know that it is not in the best interest of the child.
Democratic Representative Brianna Titon is Colorado's first openly transgender state legislator, and she said that in response to the Supreme Court's decision to take up this case. Now, when Governor Polis signed the ban, he said, quote, "Many of these so-called therapies or treatments are counterproductive, leading to lifelong issues with depression, even ultimately ending in suicide for some."
We also talked with an advocate who's been through conversion therapy herself. Elaine Joy Thurston was forced into it after coming out as a lesbian. She's really concerned about the harm that this can cause. She still suppresses her thoughts of her conversion therapist.
But I still have to intervene those thoughts on a pretty regular basis. I am very intentionally trying to rewire my brain. I think all conversion therapy survivors are trying to build new thought patterns that are real instead of the ones that have been placed in our heads.
Now, this isn't the first time the Alliance Defending Freedom has had success taking a Colorado case to the Supreme Court. So if they're successful with this one, does it have consequences beyond Colorado?
Well, it could. More than 20 states have bans on conversion therapy right now in the nation, and the district courts are all divided on it. So the Supreme Court's decision could affect all of them.
Haley, thank you so much.
Thank you, Arlo.
The Douglas County Sheriff's Office put out a really unusual body camera video last week. It looks more like a TV news story, and it raises some ethical questions about how police showed a shooting of a 23-year-old man named Jalen Sebron. CPR's Ben Marcus is reporting on this and the high number of police shootings in Colorado. Ben, what happened to Sebron?
There was arcade and bar in Highlands Ranch. It's called the Main Event. There, Sebron, he's 23 years old. He's celebrating his birthday. There's shots fired inside the building. So a deputy with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office is called to the scene. He's getting a call of an active shooter. You can see from the body cam that he's handling an assault rifle on his lap. He sees Sebron in the parking lot holding a gun at his side. He tells Sebron twice to drop it. Sebron doesn't drop the gun. He turns slightly towards the deputy, and the deputy opens fire, killing him.
When you reviewed the camera footage, what specifically stood out to you?
Well, the whole encounter only lasts 10 seconds from when the deputy opens the door to when he's ordering Sebron to drop the gun. Sebron never raises the gun in any of the videos that I've seen, whether when he was walking out of the facility or when the deputy confronts him. In fact, Sebron almost seems detached. He's not panicked. He's moving methodically. His family says that he was acting as a protector for his pregnant partner because of the shooting inside the building. What also stands out is the way the video was produced. It looks like something you would see on the 10 p.m. news here locally. It has graphics underlying the audio of the initial 911 call. There's a statement from the sheriff, Darren Weekly, where he basically says the shooting is necessary, that the deputy acted courageously. They do take some liberties, I think the attorneys, especially for Sebron's family, would say, in painting a scene that was maybe more chaotic than it actually was.
So can we talk a little bit about the power that this type of edited video has?
Yeah, you're trying to get, I think, from the sheriff's office perspective, their version of the events out. And that may not comport with other people's view of what happened. The encounter happened so quickly that I think two people can reasonably see two different things out of that. But it's clear that the Douglas County Sheriff's Office is trying to frame a narrative around what happened, whether that's true or not.
And let's talk about Sebron's family. I know that they've taken issue with this video. Can you tell me a little bit why?
Yeah, their attorney said, and I quote, "Some real liberties have been taken to paint the facts in favor of the officers."
Body cameras and more transparency were supposed to bring down the number of law enforcement shootings in the state. Is there a sense that that is happening?
It is not happening. Colorado remains ranked 5th in the U.S. for fatal officer-involved shootings. We use a database that the Washington Post has maintained over the last 10 years. That's despite all of the big changes in policing in Colorado over the last 5 years. In the vast majority of fatal police shootings that I have reviewed, that there's research on this, there is a gun present that escalates the encounter immediately.
I want to bring it back to the footage. Is there any law regulating how police departments release footage? And are we going to see more heavily produced videos like this one?
That's a good question. We don't really have the legal ability to fight police departments in court if we believe that they're heavily editing footage. So there's really not a lot of recourse. We are somewhat at the mercy of police departments and how they want to frame these events in Colorado.
Ben, thank you for keeping an eye on this.
Thank you.
A manufacturing plant in Colorado Springs was supposed to help the U.S. become a leader in making semiconductors, the backbone of most of the technology we rely on day to day. But now the company in question, Microchip, is laying off hundreds of people. CPR's Dan Voice is here to explain what this means for the future of the industry. Dan, semiconductors, or chips as they're also known, power everything from smartphones to cars to even medical devices. Why does it matter for them to be manufactured in the U.S.?
Well, Arlo, it's a security issue, a national security issue primarily, and it's a key part of making the U.S. a leader in the technology economy. Asia really owns this industry, and in particular, Taiwan. Supply chain issues during the pandemic brought home just how reliant we are on Asia. And so there is then this threat that China, which is a potential U.S. adversary, could take over Taiwan, which is a U.S. ally. And if they were to do that, China would control this industry that so many U.S. companies rely on.
Oh, wow. Within that context, a few years ago, Congress passed a bipartisan effort to make the U.S. a major manufacturer of semiconductor chips. How did that filter down to Colorado Springs?
What you're talking about is the CHIPS and Science Act. And yeah, Colorado Springs was a big beneficiary of this. It got one of the largest initial investments from the CHIPS Act. This was $90 million for that company, Microchip. And through that, they were supposed to hire more than 350 people locally in the Springs to boost domestic semiconductor manufacturing. And then another company involved in the semiconductor supply chain also got $75 million in federal money for their Colorado Springs facility. So the city has become somewhat of a destination for this industry. The city is certainly claiming these victories as proof that its technology economy is on the rise.
Despite those claims, though, Microchip is now laying off so many people. So what does that mean?
A number of reasons they list. Interest rates and inflation are part of it. Reuters reports there's less demand for its products from car makers. And then an additional factor. So on the day the Springs layoffs were announced, President Trump said in his address to Congress that he thinks the CHIPS Act should go away. Now, it's unclear if he can claw back the money that Congress already pushed out, that money that has already gone to states and to companies like those here in Colorado Springs.
Now, that seems contradictory because the Trump administration has so often said that they want to encourage U.S. manufacturing. So why isn't Trump bullish about creating microchips?
I don't think that it's fair to say the Trump administration is not bullish on domestic manufacturing of microchips. It's the tactic. So the president says tariffs are a better strategy as a way to get these companies to manufacture chips in the United States. And since Trump's inauguration, Taiwan Semiconductor, which is the world's biggest manufacturer of semiconductors, they announced an investment of $100 billion to build chips in Arizona. That does add to substantial investments that Taiwan Semiconductor also made during the Biden administration.
Dan, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's been a heavy news day, so to lift the mood a little, I wanted to share a new track from a local artist that I think you'll like. This is Teresa Sudam, a pop artist in Denver. The song Lost Bird is about reconnecting with Sudan's indigenous heritage.
A lost bird is somebody who was basically adopted out of their tribal communities or displaced somehow.
Sudam was adopted by a white family and grew up in Littleton. They always felt like they stood out. But when they started college, their mentor soon invited them to talk.
And I kind of told her about, my family. She asked all these amazing questions. And then she told me, Teresa, you are a lost bird. And I'm so glad you found your way here.
I couldn't wait to get out in the world. But when I took a step, I lost my nerve.
And that phrase, lost bird, it really stuck with me for a really long time. It took me through all the emotions. I was upset about it, and I was uncomfortable with it, and I kind of just wanted to forget about it.
They call me lost bird, send me spiraling down a rabbit hole, it's frightening. They call me a lost.
So I think as I started to get out of my comfort zone, pieces of myself started to fall into place that I didn't even know were missing. I didn't add the shattering into a million pieces. Do you know what it's like to hate your skin? I didn't add that part until the recording process, but it felt like it needed to be said because it is such a part of my journey.
I'm gonna find my truth. This is my point of view. I know that you don't have a clue.
This really was the part where everything came together, and I took these words and I flip them on their head and I make the words mine, and I'm like, this is who I am, and it doesn't mean that I am broken.
That was Denver pop musician Teresa Sudam with the song Lost Bird. Our friends at Indie 102.3 have featured Sudam on the Local 303. Find out who they're featuring in March on the link in our show notes. Reporting for today's show also came from CPR's Bente Berglund. Colorado Today is made possible by listeners like you. Remember to follow Colorado Today in your podcast app and tell a friend. I'm Arlo Perez Esquivel. This is CPR News.
Support for Colorado Today comes from Credit Union of Colorado. With access to over 30,000 ATMs and a mobile app, they're dedicated to offering the services of a big bank with a heart. Learn more at honestlygood.org. Support for Colorado Today comes from Safeway. The Safeway app features shopping for curbside pickup and home delivery, plus meal planning, pharmacy, and more. Learn more at Safeway.com.